Morning. Before we start the formal business of this County Council meeting, I would like to ask the Dean of Ripon, the Very Reverend John Dobson, to lead us in prayers.
Thank you, Chairman. Morning, everyone. Good to be with you. Let us pray. We give thanks for this great county of North Yorkshire and pray for all its people, especially for those in any need and for those who work to serve the needs of others. We continue to pray for strength and resilience for those who continue to contend with the challenges of COVID. We also ask for God's blessing upon all the members and officers of the County Council and upon this meeting. Almighty God, from whom comes every good and perfect gift, grant to those who hold office in this county the spirit of justice and truth, of wisdom and charity, that mindful of their responsibility and of the needs of those they serve, they may promote the true welfare of your people and advance your kingdom upon earth, through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Thank you, Chair.
Through you, Chairman, please let me know if I can assist.
Thank you. I'll start. I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the County Council. You will have seen the statement on the agenda front page about current decision-making arrangements within the Council following the expiry of the legislation permitting remote committee meetings. I just want to remind everybody for absolute clarity that this is an informal meeting of the Council. Any formal decisions required will be taken by the Chief Executive Officer under his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the relevant members and all relevant information. This approach has previously been agreed by full Council and will be reviewed at today's meeting. Could I ask members to please remember to mute your microphones when you're not speaking, as this will help reduce background noise and feedback. If you're having any technical difficulties during this meeting, then please state what the problems are in the chat function, and then a member of IT will be able to support you by remote accessing your device. If you cannot access the meeting at all or lose your connection, then please phone the dedicated line 01609 533 500.
Thank you, Chairman. We can now move to agenda item 1, minutes of the last meeting.
Thank you. Regarding the minutes of the annual general meeting of the County Council held on the 5th of May 2021, is Council content that the minutes are a correct record? And if so, I will ask the Chief Executive Officer to authorise them using his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the members and all relevant information. Could I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chairman.
And could I have a seconder?
I'll second them, Chair.
Thank you. The vote will be taken using the voting function that is in the Microsoft Teams. You'll shortly see this appear either in the centre of your screen or in the chat column.
Robert Skipton is for the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Heseltine. Just for the benefit of the recording as well, members are now been given an electronic option to vote for the minutes. We'll be closing the vote in about 15 seconds. And if I can ask one of the officers to let me know the result. Unfortunately, I can't see what the results are on my screen.
Hi, Barry. It's Paul Haslam. I cannot vote on my screen, but I am for the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor.
I don't have a chat. I don't appear to have a chat function at all today.
Thank you, Councillor Haslam. We'll note your agreement to the minutes.
And Chair, this is Councillor Greg White. The poll is coming up, but it's failing to load, so I'm also in favour of the minutes.
Barry, I'm having the same problem, Councillor Bob Baker. I'm for it.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. If my staff can note that you've for it, that will add to the total. Thank you.
Barry, just to be clear, it's John Mann, Councillor John Mann. I have the same problem. I'm also for the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. It seems to be a common problem at the moment. We may have to revert to named votes if everybody's having the same problem. We'll see how it goes at the end of this vote.
Councillor Roberta Swires, I'm in favour of the minutes, but I haven't got anywhere to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swires.
I've also got Councillor Trotter with his hand up. Is that to do with the vote, Councillor Trotter?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to close the vote in 5 seconds. And then if I can ask one of my my colleagues to be able to tell me the results of the vote, because I have the same problem that everybody else is having at the moment as well, that I can't see the results. Thank you.
Barry, Councillor Jefferson has a hand up.
Thank you. Councillor Jefferson, do you want to come in? Apologies, Councillor Jefferson, if you're speaking, we can't hear you at the moment. The results with regards to the vote, we've got 58 people voting for the minutes and 3 abstaining. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Therefore, that is approved. The minutes are approved.
Thank you, Chairman. Then we can go on to agenda item 2, apologies for absence.
I've received apologies for absence from County Councillors Zoe Metcalfe and Tony Randerson. Do the group secretaries wish to add any other names to the list of apologies? Councillor Janet Sanderson, is that a legacy hand or has that just come up?
No, can I just say that if Caroline Goodrick hasn't got into the meeting, she is trying to get in, but can I give her apologies on her behalf if she doesn't make it? She's got a very unsure connection.
Thank you very much for that. I think that's all the hands I can see. So are we happy to move on to agenda item number 3?
Thank you, Chairman. So agenda item number 3 is declarations of interest.
Can I ask whether members wish to formally make declarations of interest relating to any of the items on the agenda? If there are any, these will be recorded in the minutes. I'm not seeing any hands. Just give it a few seconds. Okay, I think we'll move on.
Thank you, Chairman. Then to agenda item 4, Chairman's announcements.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome the honorary aldermen and members of the public who are watching this live broadcast meeting of the Council's YouTube site. Members will recall that, sorry, I do have an announcement I want to share with councillors as well. Over the coming weeks and months, with COVID restrictions permitting, the Vice Chair and I will be attending a number of events to say thank you to all the many volunteers, key workers and emergency workers from around North Yorkshire for their help and dedication during the past 18 months during the pandemic. So that will be ongoing, and there's a number, quite a few around the county. Moving on, members will recall the time limit for speaking on statements by the leader, executive members or chairman of the scrutiny board or an overview of the scrutiny committee is 2 minutes. The time limit for speaking on motions is 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. We can then go on to agenda item 5, statement by the leader.
The next item of business is the statement by the leader of the council as at pages 13 and 14 in your papers. Members of the council may ask the leader questions or make statements on any matter, whether or not raised in the leader's statement. But I now call upon the leader, Councillor Carl Les, to make his statement.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members. I've just got a couple of things I'd like to add to my printed statement. Just to say that at long last we are expecting a statement on local government reorganisation later on this morning. We don't know for certain what the outcome will be in that statement, but it does appear likely that our proposal has found favour. But whatever the result, we do need to work together for the benefit of all our residents, our businesses and our staff as well. I'd like to have an early seminar on this now that we do get to know the result, and we're proposing that we do that on July the 28th. So if you can put that into your diaries, please, to start discussing the next steps. The second thing I'd like to add, Chairman, if I may, is just to congratulate our adopted North Yorkshireman Gareth Southgate on his skillful leading of the England football team, getting further than they ever have done for 50 years. And in fact, I would like to congratulate all the team. We are going to respond to a question later on today about our attitude to racism and racial abuse. But I think I'd just like to recognise at this point in time that as a county and as a country, we are richer for the diversity that we have in all our communities, that diversity of all kinds. But the racial abuse that the team got, and also Sir Lewis Hamilton, following his somewhat controversial win at Silverstone over the weekend, but that racial abuse, any intolerance is just not acceptable. With that, Chairman, I'm very happy to answer questions on either those 2 points or on anything in my statement, or indeed anything else.
Are there any questions for the Leader of the Council? Councillor Bryn Griffiths.
Councillor Griffiths, are you able to go on to unmute?
Apologies. I'd just like to echo Carl's statement there about the sporting successes, and also his comments on racial abuse, etc. It's not acceptable in any form in this country or elsewhere. I'd also like to echo his comments about the success of the English football team, and trust that he agrees that he's supporting the GB ladies team that are currently playing football in the Olympics, and wish them the success as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll just go around all the other questioners, Leader, and then come back to you for a response if it's okay. Councillor Basterman.
Thank you, Chairman. Carl, you mentioned a seminar. Have you got a start time for that seminar, please?
Do you want me to answer that straight away, Chairman, or leave it till the end?
If you could leave it all to the end, Leader, okay. And I've got two more people indicating. We've got Councillor John McCartney and then Councillor Eric Broadbank.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to endorse what Carl said about Gareth Southgate. It's great that he's living in Yorkshire, an adopted Yorkshireman. The team did their best. They were fantastic. And I agree about the fact that it's multi-ethnic, multicultural was so, made you proud to be English and to live in England. And the racism that occurred was just disgusting. My son was at Wembley. He's a sports journalist. And he actually went to the game, and he was quite disgusted by some of the actions there. And I think it's really sad in 2021 that we're still getting racism in this country.
Councillor Broadbent, please accept my apologies. I did call you Broadbank, and you've got the floor now, so my apologies.
Not to worry, Chair. It's happened many times before. Yes, just also to echo on behalf of the Labour Group, the success of the England football team, all the good news and the mentioning of North Yorkshire on national television. I think it's brilliant for us all concerned as local residents. And also, we totally support the anti-racism that did occur, not just at that football match, but other sports venues. So in total, welcoming that statement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to echo what Carl mentioned about local government reorganisation. Obviously, I think we've all got very strong and passionate views on this topic. I do as well. I think whatever the outcome is, and I think we know what the outcome is going to be, it's vital that everyone does accept that result and works together in the interests of the residents which we serve. My question to Carl really is, does he agree along those lines that previous examples of reorganisation have shown that legal challenges rarely, if ever, lead to success and do not serve the interests of taxpayers, which we are here to serve? And does he agree that that would not be the right move for any individual authority to take as a result of the decision that's announced today?
I can't see any other hands raised, so Councillor Leader, over to you. Sorry, there's one more leader, Councillor Bryn Griffiths.
Councillor Griffiths, you're still on mute at the moment.
Thank you, Chair. This is a separate issue. It refers to the Rural Commission report, which I found good reading, some excellent ideas in it. One thing it didn't seem to cover, though, was the role of market towns in North Yorkshire and what facilities and businesses and so on, how they should be supported as the economy changes. I thought that was an omission which could be looked at in a future piece of work. I hope we would take that on board.
Right, I am now going to go to the Leader of the Council, and can I ask anybody that's had the hand up if you could now take them down, please? Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll deal with Derek's first. That's the easiest. Our normal starting time's 10:30, Derek, and I think we would be proposing to do the same. Bryn, you asked me to support the women's football team. My kids will tell you that I oscillate between supporting any team that's doing well at the time. So if they do well, I'll be right behind them. And John McCartney said it makes you proud to be English and support the England team. Well, actually, some of us are British as well, and we support the England team as well, John. Eric, thank you for your support from the Labour group. Bryn, the Rural Commission, I'm not sure that they did neglect market towns, but and there's 57 recommendations and a lot of commentary in the report. We have to work through it. I've already agreed with Derek that we'll have a proposal where executive, management board and scrutiny can come together to actually start working through the recommendations of the Rural Commission. But we'll take your point on board, Bryn, and see if it has been overlooked. And, you know, we always said that market towns are hugely important to North Yorkshire, to our economy and our society. So we will make sure that market town considerations of market towns is relevant. And Keane, yeah, I mean, I always said we have to work together right from the start. I said that we should try and work together in developing a solution and scoping the proposals. I can only speak for this council. And I said some time ago that this council would not do a judicial review, whatever the outcome was. I can't see the point in judicially reviewing our own government. So I hope that gives you the reassurance about that, but I can't speak for any of the others, but I do think that a JR would be the wrong thing to do. I think I've covered all the questions there, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Leader, for those answers. And we now move on to agenda item 6.
Thank you, Chairman. You've already said it for me. So we're going on to agenda item 6, public questions and statements.
Yeah, sorry about that, Barry. The deadline for public questions and statements is 12 noon on Friday, the 16th of July, which has obviously passed. We have one public question from Rachel Henley, and I intend to take that with agenda item 7 under the equality and diversity statement part of that. So we'll deal with it. We'll move on to the next item and take that question then.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, you've taken the words out of my mouth. We're moving on to item 7, report and recommendations of the executive.
Yeah, there are 2 recommendations to council from the executive that need to be voted upon: amendments to the Constitution and the Equality and Diversity Statement. The report on formal meetings of the Authorities Committee is on the agenda at item 8. The appointments to committees and outside bodies are for information only and do not need to be voted on. So, dealing with the amendments to the Constitution, I call upon County Councillor David Chance to move the recommendations regarding the amendments to the Constitution at page 18 in the main agenda.
Thank you, Chairman. The set of amendments before members falls into 3 broad categories or headings. Minor administrative changes, which can be found in Appendix 1, and these are changes that are classed as good housekeeping and to reflect changes to ensure the Constitution is up to date. Changes in the procurement and contract rules. The Council has a strict set of rules regarding procurement and to ensure that best value is obtained. These changes seek to align with the procurement rules with regard to the fact that the UK is no longer a member of the EU and ensure that appropriate reference is made to existing rules. This is not a fundamental change as yet to how the Council procures services, but the government has announced a procurement bill which will be introduced in September 2021. And changes to the Council procedure rules 13H regarding motions. This was personally championed by the late Councillor Webber. He was passionate about ensuring that all political parties could have a motion debated at Council and considered that this rule on what would be considered an appropriate amendment to the motion would enhance public debate and scrutiny. This has been debated by the Constitution Working Party and Executive, and I'm happy to commend this amendment to full Council. The change provides that where an amendment does not directly seek to negate or nullify a motion, the Chairman has the discretion to reject any amendment that seeks to substantially alter the proposal of the original motion so as to lose the intention of the original motion. This change will allow the Chairman to reject an amendment to a motion where the amendment alters the motion so much that it loses the intention of the original motion. I'm grateful to the late Councillor Webber for championing this amendment so passionately, even when his health was deteriorating. I therefore commend all the changes to the Constitution to the Council for recommendation to the Chief Executive for approval.
Thank you very much. Could I ask for a seconder, please, to that motion?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody wishing to speak on this item? Oh, Councillor Griffiths, my apologies.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to echo Councillor Chance's comments about 4.2C, that the Council amendments, it's a fair, honest way of conducting business, and it's a good legacy to Councillor Jeff Webster. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I've got nobody else indicating that they want to speak on this particular item. Does Councillor Chance want to reserve his right of reply or exercise his right of reply?
No, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Therefore, we will move to the vote. The vote will be taken using the voting function that is in Microsoft Teams, and you should shortly see this appear whether in the centre of your screen or in the chat column. We'll now pause for the vote as the vote takes place, and we'll allow Democratic Services to confirm the outcome.
And through you, Chairman, thank you for that. If I can go to the councillors that couldn't vote on the last occasion, so everyone who could vote previously, that came fine. For those councillors that couldn't vote, if I can just do a name vote for those councillors and just go through the list. So Councillor Baker, is that for or against the amendments to the Constitution?
I'm for it, Barry, but I think it's actually just work this time. I'm not sure, but yes, I'm for it.
OK, thank you. We'll make sure you only vote once, so that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Haslam, I don't know if you can vote again, but if you can't, can you indicate if you're for or
Four,
against?
please. Four.
Thank you. Councillor Heseltine?
I'm for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mann?
4. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Swires?
4.
And Councillor White?
I've managed to vote. 4.
Thank you. If there are any other councillors that haven't been able to vote, just let me know.
Sorry, this is Jim Clark. I can't vote, but I'm in favour.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. We'll note your vote.
Mr. Chairman, Angus Thompson, I can't vote either, but I am in favour.
Thank you. We've also got a hand up from Councillor Jefferson. Councillor Jefferson.
I need help, but how do I get through to you?
If you've got a pen and paper, Councillor Jefferson, if you've a pen and paper, I've got a telephone number to pass on to you, or perhaps it
Right,
can be in
okay,
the chat.
go on.
01609
Yeah.
533 500.
Thank you.
Would you just go on mute, Councillor Jefferson? Thank you.
Okay, and subject to Councillor Jefferson, if we can close the virtual vote in the next 5 seconds, if you can all make sure you voted, thank you. And through you, Chairman, at the moment, the results are the 61 in favour of the amendments and 1 against.
Okay, if you're happy, I think we'll move on at this stage, and Councillor Jefferson's vote can be added to the minutes.
I'm in favour. I still can't get through, and I can't get through to the phone number you've given me.
Thank you. That will be recorded accordingly, Councillor Jefferson. Is somebody from IT able to ring Councillor Jefferson?
Well, I'm in a queue, Chairman, sorry, but thank you for
Okay.
the number. I've been
If you-
trying it since 10:15.
Thank you. If you can just go on mute, and we'll carry on with the
Well, it's
rest of
lucky that it's actually come on as the microphone. It wouldn't come on before. Mute it, but probably won't come back on again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm assuming that vote's been carried. So I will therefore ask the Chief Executive Officer to consider and make a decision on the matter using his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the members and all relevant information.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, taking into account the overwhelming vote of members and the fact this has been to the Constitutional Working Group as well as the Executive, content to use my emergency powers to approve the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now take the second item under agenda item 7, but before it's on equality and diversity, before we do that, I'll ask Barry Khan, the legal officer, to read out the public question letter from Rachel Henley.
Thank you, Chairman. So we've had one public question from Rachel Henley, who asks, will the County Council take positive steps and action, starting with a press statement condemning in the strongest terms racism and racist abuse? As a resident of Yorkshire from Malton, I would like it to be made clear that there is no place for this in our county. The position should be promoted on all social media and in the press. I would be grateful if this could be raised and minuted. So we're grateful for that question. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I now call upon County Councillor David Chance to move the recommendations regarding the equality and diversity statement at page 19 in the main agenda, and also any comments in answer to the public question. Councillor Chance.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll take the answer to the public question first, if I may. And I would say to the questioner, I thank you for this question and the opportunity to completely agree with the statement that the council condemns in the strongest terms racism and racist abuse. In the council approving the equality and diversity statement and inclusion policy statement, it will be clear that the council welcomes and celebrates diversity, not only because it is the right thing to do, but because it also makes us a better council and a better county. Not only do we promote equality, we are equally committed to tackling discrimination, harassment, intimidation, and disadvantage. I am therefore happy to agree with your sentiment that racism and racist abuse has no place in North Yorkshire County Council, the county, or our society. I am happy to ensure that a press release is made which seeks to promote the values that we have listed in our policy statement and which condemns any form of racism. Similarly, I am happy to ensure that the message against any types of prejudice or predetermination, depending on a protected characteristic, is also promoted. I was appalled to see the racism abuse that has been recently received by some of our English footballers. And I have been delighted to see the overwhelming reaction to condemn such abuse. I am happy, and I am sure that I speak for the whole council, to say that we condemn all racism and racist abuse. Further, our policy highlights the action that we have taken to continue to promote equality and fight prejudice on all fronts. Full details of the Council Equality and Diversity Statement can be found on the Council's website, clearly stating how we conduct ourselves and Council business. So that's the end of my response to the question, Chairman. As for the Equality and Diversity Statement, Council is asked to indicate its approval to the revised Equality and Diversity and Inclusion Policy Statement. It's important for the Council to have a clearly defined view on equality and diversity. And the Equality and Diversity and Inclusion Policy Statement seeks to do that. In North Yorkshire, we should be proud of the diversity that is within our communities and make the county as inclusive a place as to be in, where people should not have to fear that they will face prejudice on any grounds whatsoever. Due to the importance of this subject, the Council has consulted on the draft statement with staff, disability forums and the wider public. The details of the responses are contained in the report, but the majority of responses agreed with the statement's aims and commitments. This policy is meant to be an overarching document for a number of policies, but importantly, it sets out some crucial fundamentals with regard to the equality and diversity inclusion. And it states that North Yorkshire Council welcomes and celebrates diversity and strengthens the strengths that this brings to our community and workforce. As one of the largest employers in the area, we are committed to providing equality of opportunity and tackling discrimination, harassment and intimidation and disadvantage. It sets a definition for what we mean by equality and diversity. It states the Council's aims to create an inclusive culture, support the development of places and situations where everyone is treated fairly, work with partners and local businesses to improve opportunities, especially those who experience disadvantage and discrimination, and to ensure that the Council has access, is an access-friendly organisation for communities and the workforce. The policy also sets out how we will seek to meet those responsibilities and those aims. I therefore commend the policy to the Council for its consideration so that we can have a clear statement that you will be valued in North Yorkshire no matter what your race, age, sexuality, gender or gender reassignment, disability, belief or marital status. North Yorkshire is a place for everyone, and I'm happy to stand behind this policy statement, which makes it clear and commits the Council to take the appropriate action. I so commend it to the Chief Executive for consideration and approval.
Thank you very much for that. Could I ask for a seconder, please, to the motion?
Yes, I'd second that, please, Chairman.
Thank you very much. do you want to reserve your right to speak, or do you want to say?
I'll just say a very few short words now. Just to say I absolutely support the statement that we've made, but I'd also remind members, I think the term was that David used, and it's easy to do, isn't it? You will be valued from whatever minority group you belong in. I would like to remind us all, and I suppose it could be said I'm part of one of the so-called minority groups. I've always felt valued, and I've always felt that North Yorkshire, without statements, and I know that we need to make them, does value diversity, does value people from different cultures, and I think we should be very, very proud indeed about what we actually do offer.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dadd. I've got Councillor Ayrton now, please.
No, I've not indicated, Chairman.
My apologies, your hand is up, that's why you've been picked up. So if you could just lower your hand for us, that would be great. Councillor Griffiths.
It's not showing us up on my screen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Fully support everything that's been said. It's a shame we have to say it, but it needs putting out there. Everybody is equal and fully valued in this county and within the country.
Thank you very much. Councillor Parsons.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a member of a minority group myself, the Independents of North Yorkshire, it is important that we're felt valued, and I do think the County Council does go a long way to include us and as many people as possible in all its considerations. I think it does deserve praise for how far it's gone, and it deserves praise for leading the fight and continuing the fight for equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any other indications that anybody's wishing to speak, so I think we'll move to the vote, and the vote will be taken using the voting functions that is in Microsoft Teams. You will shortly see this appear either in the centre of your screen or in the chat column. And we'll now pause while the vote takes place to allow Democratic Services to confirm the outcome.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, I'll go through the list of councillors which I believe can't use the electronic system for a number of reasons. So if I go to Councillor Haslam, it can ask if it's for, against or abstaining, please.
Absolutely for.
Thank you. Councillor Heseltine?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Goodrick?
She's unable to get on.
Right, thank you. Councillor Mann?
For, thank you.
Councillor Swires?
Absolutely for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor White?
I believe I voted, Barry.
Oh, thank you. Right,
I'm for.
I'll take you off
Definitely
the list.
for.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
I've voted and definitely for it. Thank you.
I'll take you off the list as well. Is there any other councillors who haven't been able to vote electronically?
Yes, this is Councillor Clark. I'm in favour.
Thank you, Councillor Clark, and apologies for missing you out. Thank you. OK, we're going to close the poll in the next 10 seconds. So if you can ask all members to vote now, thank you. If I can just check, I know Councillor Jefferson has been having technical problems. So I don't know if she'll be able to vote or not. So I'm just going to check with Councillor Jefferson. I don't know if you can hear us. Have you been able? I think she's still having technical problems. Again, through you, Chairman, we can get her vote electronically afterwards.
Thank you. Is the voting now closed then, Barry?
The voting is now closed. I'm just waiting for someone to tell me the exact numbers, but Everybody has voted for, that has indicated. I'm just waiting for the exact numbers to be said what they are.
Okay.
So we've got 62 for, none against and none abstentions.
Thank you. I will ask the Chief Executive Officer to consider and make a decision on the matter using his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the members and all relevant information.
Thank you, Chairman. Taking into account those views and that overwhelming vote, very happy to use my emergency powers and quite proud to do so to approve the recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. We can now go on to agenda item 8, which is the formal meetings of the authority committees.
Thank you very much. I call upon County Councillor Carl Les to move the recommendations regarding formal meetings of the authorities committees from the 21st of July 2021 onwards, and they're at page 26 of the main agenda.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I'm very happy to move those recommendations at 12. I hope that colleagues across the chamber will support this pragmatic approach to a difficult and unpredictable set of circumstances that we're facing yet again with increasing transmission rates. This virtual meetings will protect members and staff, and I think we need to reflect on the fact that not all our staff have yet been double inoculated, so they are at some risk. But it's not only about protecting people from transmissions and infections, it's also about unnecessary self-isolation, which is quite a problem across the country at the moment. One thing about virtual meetings that we've been doing now for a good period of time is that we know that they work. Yes, they're not perfect because we have to delegate decision making, and the principle of members making decisions is a very important one. But we do have the flexibility within these recommendations to hold face-to-face meetings if needed. And I note that the Planning Committee is going to have a face-to-face meeting shortly. We will review this again in September. The next County Council meeting we're also proposing to be scheduled for a virtual meeting in November, but that can be changed if circumstances have changed. And let's hope that circumstances will certainly have changed by November, and they may even have changed during September. We will, of course, also have a wider review of meetings if the Secretary of State is able to get parliamentary time and parliamentary approval to us being able to hold virtual meetings with decision-making powers, because we know what the advantages of virtual meetings are, the savings in time, cost and carbon. With that, Chairman, I just repeat, I'm very happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Could I ask for a seconder, please?
Happy to second that, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I've got two people indicating they want to speak. First, Councillor Parsons, and then Councillor Yvonne Peacock. So, Councillor Parsons, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to second, but somebody was quicker off the unmute button than me. I think it's a very sensible approach, and I think it is vital that we continue to do our bit to protect staff and ourselves. And I also think we do need to have that time to contemplate our future, where the massive savings we've made in travel costs and time are very important for members to be able to carry out their duties more efficiently and more effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Councillor Peacock and then Councillor Soloway.
Yes, well, I'm absolutely in favour of this recommendation, because last night was the Richmondshire District Council full council meeting, and that was, they had it in Mercury House at Richmond, and I did not go, and it's the first time, only the second time in 22 years that I have missed a full council meeting. The last one was for the snowstorm. And the thing is, it isn't just the fact that you don't want to get COVID yourself. It isn't just the fact that you wouldn't want to see anybody infected by it, but this isolation afterwards. And when you work like I have to work, it can cause a huge problem to other people within your businesses. And I think it's that element. It has far-reaching elements to it. And this way, we're keeping everybody safe, not just ourselves, but our families and all around us can also be kept safe and continue with the work. And as a councillor, you know, we do a lot of work in the community, and if we had to isolate for 10 days, that can make a big difference to the work that we have to do. So I'm absolutely 100% behind this recommendation.
Thank you very much for those comments. Councillor Soloway.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I thought restricting the pays off. Really, for our health and economy, because it's intrinsically linked. View though is that is there an echo coming through on me?
Yeah, your volume is not, the sound quality is not brilliant. So I don't know if anybody's got a microphone. If we could just mute them, make sure they're muted, and hopefully that might make a difference.
Sure, my mind do this. If you can hear me, the other thing I'd like to touch on is the public engagement we've had since we got to virtual meetings. There's been a huge amount of engagement. We should recognise basically. Many councils have had a huge amount of public engagement, their meetings and turning up. That continued with. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop. I can't hear him.
Thanks, Councillor Soloway. If you want to drop an email into Democratic Services, and we'll make sure your comments are included in the minutes, if that's okay. I've now got Councillor Broadbent, and then, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Broadbent speaking. Totally behind the recommendations. It's very advantageous during this pandemic that we do take every precaution. Erring on the side of live meetings, they have their advantages as well. There is the fact that to be in your own home for months and months isn't good for mental health. So I do look forward to getting back to some form of normality, and I do hope we can make that decision once we receive the scientific advice that we can go ahead and get back to face-to-face meetings. But I certainly support the recommendations and do err on the side of caution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Broadbent. Can I get Councillor Griffiths now, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I welcome these recommendations and the flexibility and the reviews which will take place. One issue I do have is I think we should be looking at the option of hybrid meetings. That's up to Parliament. They're doing it. Why can't we? They need to get their act together. It gives people the opportunity to fully participate, and we'll still have public interest. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Staveley.
Yes, thank you. As a new member to this authority, I just wanted to reiterate, I believe what Councillor Soloway was trying to say, although it was someone sounded a bit Norman Collier there, it was coming in and out of reception. The public engagement that we've seen at Craven has been fantastic, and I assume we've had the same you've enjoyed the same at North Yorkshire, as people sit at home and peruse our meetings in the comfort of their own home at their convenience. I think the democratic process has never been more alive for the benefit of us not actually meeting, strangely enough. So I would fully commend this recommendation and hope that we can take it forward with the blessing of Parliament as and when they get around to making their decision on the hybrid meetings or whatever form it takes going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Jordan.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'd favour the hybrid meetings. 2 hours of driving for a half-hour meeting just doesn't make sense in this world.
Thank you. We've got nobody else indicating they want to speak. And just to confirm to Councillor Soloway, if you submit your written comments to Democratic Services. They'll be included in the minutes. I've got Councillor Andrew Lee with his hand up, and then I'm going to go back to the leader to exercise his right of reply.
Sorry, Councillor Lee, you're breaking in and out again. You just want to repeat that again? Let's see if we can hear you.
Councillor Lee, we can't hear anything, so perhaps you could do the same as Councillor Soloway, and if you can send an email to Democratic Services, and we'll ensure your comments are included in the minutes as well. Is that okay?
Sorry, it was a mistake, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We'll go back to the leader now to exercise his right of reply. Councillor Les.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. I won't go through all the individual speakers because I think by and large, well, unanimously it was messages of support. So thank you for that. The one thing I didn't mention as an advantage in my opening remarks was the public engagement thing. I think that is a very valid point that has been raised. I think bearing in mind the difficulties that the two Andrews have had, Andy and Andrew, in getting in, I think the one point I'll close with is that we must continue to invest in our IT and our connectivity to make sure it works. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments. The vote will be taken now using the voting function that is in the Microsoft Teams. You will shortly see this appear either in the centre of your screen or in the chat column. We'll also pause as the vote takes place to allow Democratic Services to confirm the outcome of the vote.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, if I can just go through the people that can't use the electronic voting, just ask them if they're for or against or abstaining with the proposal to carry on with virtual informal meetings with the formal decisions being made by the Chief Executive and the ability for the Chief Executive in consultation with the leader to decide to have physical meetings for each individual committee meeting. If I can ask how those members want to vote, either for, against or abstaining. So firstly to Councillor Haslam.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
The flexibility on offer is very welcome. I'm for it.
Thank you. Councillor Goodrick. Not too sure if she made it in. Okay. Councillor Mann.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Swires.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
For.
Thank you. Just pausing there. Are there any councillors that have missed off who can't use the electronic voting? Thank you. If I can close the electronic vote in 5 seconds. And can I just check? I've just been reminded. Can I just check, Councillor Thompson? Could you vote electronically? You voted electronically last time. Just want to make sure that I haven't missed you out.
Yes, I voted electronically. Yeah.
Perfectly. Thank you. Okay, we can close the vote now, and I'm just waiting for the results. Chairman, that is 62 in favour, no against, no abstentions. Thank you.
Okay, so therefore that's been approved. I will ask the Chief Executive Officer to consider and make a decision on the matter using his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the members and all relevant information.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, based on the report that you've had before you, the comments made by councillors and the overwhelming vote by councillors, content to approve those recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So that's now passed, so we can go on to item 9, report and recommendations of the Allocations Committee.
Thank you very much. I call upon County Councillor Carl Les to move the recommendations regarding changes to the allocations of seats on and appointment to committees subject to proportional representation detailed at page 31 in the main agenda. Councillor Les.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I first of all thank the other group leaders for coming together to have an allocations committee meeting. We don't hold these very often. I'm very happy to move the recommendations, Chairman, and if they are passed by the Chief Executive, then our Group Secretary has some Conservative nominations to read out, but she will have to wait until the Chief Executive has confirmed that he's happy to do it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Could I ask for a seconder, please?
Yeah, second that, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Does anybody want to speak? I've got Councillor Val Arnold. Is anybody else wishing to speak on this? Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Chairman. When would you like to me to make any announcements on behalf of the Conservative members, please?
After you have to wait until the vote has been taken and subject to approval. I'll come back to you then.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you.
Is anybody else wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, Councillor Les, do you have anything further to say?
Nothing at all, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The vote will be taken using the voting function that is in Microsoft Teams. You will shortly see this appear either in the centre of your screen or in the chat column. And we'll pause as the votes take place to allow Democratic Services to confirm the outcome of the vote.
Thank you, Chair. And once again, just going for those members that can't vote electronically, Councillor Haslam, is it for, against or abstaining?
For, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heseltine?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mann?
For, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Swires?
For, thank you.
And Councillor Clark?
For.
Okay, just pausing. Have I missed anybody off?
Yeah, mine's not sending, Barry, and I'm for. I'm pressing submit, but it's not sending it.
Sorry, Chairman, can't miss you off. Okay, we'll just note that one as well. Thank you. Okay, we're going to close the vote, electronic vote in 5 seconds. If members can all vote, please. Thank you. And I can confirm the result is 61 in favour, 0 against.
Thank you very much. Before I go to the Chief Executive, could we have the nominations, Councillor Arnold?
Yes, certainly, Chairman. Thank you very much. Firstly, Chairman, can I announce that on corporate and partnership overview and scrutiny, Councillor Angus Thompson will be replaced by Councillor Matt Scott. And the Conservative members on overview and scrutiny, vacant seats are Care and Independence, Councillor Roberta Swires, and also County Councillor Robert Windus. On Transport, Economy and Environment, overview and scrutiny, Councillor Matt Scott. And on corporate and partnership, I've already mentioned that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Les.
Yeah, could I just come in? There's an additional one there. There's David Staveley on transport as well, please.
Oh, is there? I'm sorry, Leader. Sorry, missed that one off. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. We've got everybody's names. I will ask the Chief Executive Officer to consider and make a decision on the matter using his emergency delegated decision-making powers after taking into account the views of the members of all relevant information.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, having listened to comments made and the overwhelming vote by members, I'm happy to approve the recommendations for proportionality.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. With that decision being made, we can go on to agenda item 10, overview and scrutiny annual report.
Thank you very much. I call upon County Councillor Derek Basterman, Chair of the Scrutiny Board, to move the recommendations regarding the overview and scrutiny annual report 2020-2021 and they're detailed at page 36 in the main agenda.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I commend the report to members, and in doing so, sincerely thank everyone involved, officers and members alike, because there's been tremendous amount of good work gone into the board over this last period. And I must say, the board have enjoyed working with and challenging the executive when we've been invited to do so, and I feel sure they've learnt many a lesson from our attendance. I so move the report, Chairman. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Griffiths. Are you wanting to second the motion, Councillor Griffiths?
Sorry, Councillor Griffiths, you're on mute again.
Sorry, it keeps the button on here keeps flipping on and off. Sorry. I'd like to make a slight amendment stroke comment to the report, if I may.
Okay, just take some advice. Can I have a proposer, a seconder to the report before we take amendments?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. Do we take that amendment now, Barry?
That's right. We're not going to formally vote on this, but we can, if there is an amendment or any changes that need to happen, then Councillor Griffiths can make that point now. Okay, Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you, Chair. It's an issue, two issues actually. First one's quite close to my heart. It refers to the Corporate and Partnership Overview and Scrutiny Committee comments. I'm talking page 41 and page 42, where we talk about the scrutiny review of the proposal to ban the release of all types of sky lanterns on the property and land owned by North Yorkshire County Council. We did it, and it's minuted that we also banned the release of helium balloons. And I'd like that amendment putting in there, please.
So through you, Chairman, if the chair of the scrutiny committee is happy to accept that, we can have that as the amendment and move in. If it's a matter for debate, then clearly we'll need to go to a vote.
Chairman, if I may be invited to speak, more than happy to do so. It is an oversight on my part when signing it off. I do apologise, Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you. I thought you would be. My second point, if I may, Chair, is about the single-use plastics one, which is on page 44 of the report. And I'd like to, if I may, make some comments on that. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
Well, it is some years now since I proposed to Council that we ban the use of single-use plastics in county premises and urged others to follow suit. At long last, we now have a report from the task force, which I've looked at, and I'm sorry to say I'm disappointed and frustrated that action isn't taking place. It's very slow. It appears so far that not a single item of the single-use plastics have been banned or removed from the County Council. It's very frustrating. I'm just going to swap screens and I'll come back with her points. In looking at the report in Annex A, it says rather than delaying measures until our directorates have worked up detailed action plans, we need to put in place some quick wins and develop these further. Well, I haven't seen that happen yet. Findings and conclusions: elimination of single-use plastics, although desirable, is not realistic at this stage. Another one here: we are not asking for there to be a headlong rush towards reducing single-use plastics or amongst its supply chain. There needs to be a speeding up through the steps that we have made today of a single-use plastic reduction more visible. I'm very frustrated that this is taking years to come into practice. And I'm just swapping screens. In my view, it's not good enough. We need some quick win actions now. And we're just going into further bureaucratic delays. What sort of messages is giving to the public?
Before you come back, Councillor Basterman, there is another questioner, so you might want to take these points. Councillor Jefferson, please. We're not hearing anything, Councillor Jefferson. Is it possible to submit your comments in the chat function so that Councillor Basterman can take them on board?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry. The hand is from a previous trying to get into the meeting. IT have finally got me connected on another device. There's poor connection here on the coast for some reason. So I'm not asking a question, Councillor Basterman. I do apologise. It's a previous hand. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarity. Are there any other points before I go to Councillor Basterman for exercise his right of reply? All right, over to you, Councillor Basterman.
Thank you, Chairman. I do apologise for not being invited to speak earlier. May I suggest that Councillor Griffiths' comments through you, Chairman, are directed to Councillor Lumley, as it's his overview and scrutiny committee, and he may wish to make comment on it. Other than that, I'm more than happy to move again. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. If nobody else wants to take comments, ask questions, we're going to go to the vote. Sorry, no, we just have to note this one. There's no vote required. My apologies for that. And perhaps Councillor Lumley might want to take that as part of his bit when he speaks later on.
Thank you, Chairman. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So we can go on to agenda item 11, statements by executive members and chairman of overview and scrutiny committees.
Thank you. I call upon the executive members to make a statement if they wish. At the end of each of these statements, I will ask members of the council whether they have any questions or wish to make any statement. Any questions or statements must be limited to 2 minutes. I call upon Councillor David Chance, Executive Member for Stronger Communities, including Corporate Development Overview and Scrutiny Committees, Area Committees and Performance Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report is as printed. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Chance? Okay, I'm moving on then. I don't see any indication. I call upon Michael Harrison, Executive Member for Health and Audit Services, including the Health and Wellbeing Board, Health Integration and Extra Care.
Thank you, Chairman. My statement is submitted as written. I've got nothing further to add to it, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Harrison? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to move on. I call upon Councillor Dickinson, Executive Member for Public Health, Prevention and Supported Housing, including STP issues relating to the Friarage and Darlington hospitals.
Thank you, Chairman. My report is as printed, but I would just like to add thanks to the Yorkshire Agricultural Society for the cooperation in making the Great Yorkshire Show as safe as possible and for taking measures beyond what the law required to keep people safe. And just a little bit further on COVID, we're entering a new phase in how we deal with the pandemic. The virus is still with us, so as we move into step 4 on the government's roadmap, we all need to consider our approach to living with COVID in the next weeks and months. The number of cases are rising in North Yorkshire. The average is above the England average. The numbers are now higher than they were in January. This tells us that we must continue to act responsibly. There are 2 words that come to mind: respect and protect. We can show respect for and offer protection to ourselves and those around us by continuing to do the simple things. Please continue to wear your face covering in crowded spaces, outdoors and indoors. Businesses and shops need to do all they can to protect their staff as well as customers. So wearing a face mask not only protects you, it protects other people and supports local business. It's the same with social distancing. Some people may not feel as confident as you, so giving them space is important. Regular hand washing and sticking to well-ventilated places remain important. Above all, it is crucial that you have your vaccination. If you haven't already, please do so as soon as you can, and make sure you get your second jab too. That continues to be our best line of defence. As the vaccination programme moves to younger people, our NHS colleagues are seeing greater use of walk-in and pop-up clinics. These take place across North Yorkshire and require no booking, just drop in. It remains vitally important that we continue with the key messages: hands, face, space and fresh air. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We have a question from Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. This is a question on the Healthy Start programme, which I've had a reply from, but I would like to pursue it a little bit more if I can, please. The Healthy Start programme provides eligible pregnant women and children under 4 with weekly vouchers to buy healthy food like milk, fruit, vegetables and some pulses. As a response to the recommendations of Part 1 of the National Food Strategy and Marcus Rashford's End Child Food Poverty campaign, the government increased the value of the Healthy Start vouchers from £3.10 per week to £4.25 per week, or double that for babies under 12 months. However, despite the boost, the take-up of the vouchers by those eligible is plummeting across the country. Through the Food Justice Finder, I found out that our local area, only 49% of those eligible actually claim their vouchers. That means at least £7,106 worth of vouchers per week are going unclaimed. To save you doing the maths, that's £369,000 per annum of unclaimed vouchers for our most needy and most vulnerable residents. Can I ask, please, what plans do we have to help increase the take-up of vouchers amongst those that are entitled to them? And I do have a follow-up question, please. Thank you.
Can you ask your follow-up question now, and then we'll go to Councillor Dickinson to reply to them both.
OK, one of the qualifying benefits for the Healthy Start scheme is universal credit. Others include income-based job seekers allowance, child tax credits and income support, etc. Given the very real risk that universal credit may change in September, I would suggest that this is both urgent and important. Can we be provided, please, with a breakdown by borough and district council of where these claims are, so that we can support any local initiative to advertise these? And in addition, the recently published Part 2 of the National Food Strategy has recommended a further extension of the Healthy Start scheme. And I would ask, please, if we would be writing to MPs across our area to support this suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Your second part of your... Sorry, the second part I will have to get further information about, because I don't have anything like that to hand at the moment. I mean, I did send you some information that I had from earlier in the year, which is to do with the Healthy Start programme, and the access to the scheme is paper-based application form that's often provided during the antenatal period, as the form requires authorising by a midwife or health visitor. This is a barrier to uptake, and requirement for health professional signatory has only recently been lifted due to COVID-19. The range of uptake in North Yorkshire is 37 to 59%. This is a reduction since 2018, and there is, as you say, a national reduction in uptake. Food retailers need to apply to be part of the scheme. Vouchers are not redeemable everywhere. In a rural area, the local food shop may not be an approved retailer with reliance on major supermarkets. We agree with the principle of promoting uptake and encouraging retailers to participate in the scheme. This is against a backdrop of the scheme being digitalised. This means that eligible families will receive a chip and pin for contactless purchase of fruit, veg and milk. The card will automatically be topped up. The retailers will no longer need to apply. The new scheme is due to go live in October 2021. It's not yet clear how this will be rolled out nationally or how families will apply for the scheme and whether this is being digitised too. During COVID-19, food vouchers for individual identified families were processed through Children and Young People's Service. And in addition to what I've already sent you, the government has extended the COVID winter grant scheme to cover summer holidays. This scheme awarded food vouchers to families and caregivers who have children who are eligible for free school meals and were administered via schools. In partnership with North Yorkshire Together, the Feast project activity packs have been distributed to all primary age children across the county who are in receipt of free school meals. The feast is about food, entertainment, activities and sport together, and children and young people can book onto holiday activity sessions during the summer, where each day they will also receive a hot meal or packed lunch. Children who were either funded as 2-year-olds or 3 to 4-year-olds, including in receipt of early years pupil premium in settings, received £15 per week for 2 weeks Easter holiday plus £20. A similar summer holiday fund has been administered by the early years funding team. The criteria was 2-year-olds funded children eligibility because of socioeconomic criteria, and 3 to 4-year-olds in receipt of EYPP would receive £15 per child per week for 6 weeks, plus £20 discretionary fund. The payment was made to early years providers on the 15th of July so that families would receive the payment in time for summer holidays. I trust you'll see that the council is aware of this and is helping where it can to ensure children get access to good, healthy food. And I'm not sure if Councillor Chance, who also has oversight of this within his portfolio, would like to make any comment on that.
Councillor Chance.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd just come back and support everything that Councillor Dickinson said, but also point out that we've also been using the Financial Hardship Fund as well, and we've had 1,308 applications, averaging £97 an application there, which have gone out through that fund. And this includes some young people with young families or babies.
Councillor Collin, do you want to come back just
briefly? Yes, please. Thank you both for the information, and I know we do a lot, and I know about the NILAF fund because I've asked Councillor Chance those questions before. My concern is people are entitled to this money and they are not claiming it, and I understand what you've said about the government changing it, and digitalisation does sound better, but I'm really keen that we do something by way of advertising or support to increase the uptake, so that £369,000 a year goes to the people who need it most. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. That we'll certainly look into that. And all the other figures that you were asking for, could you drop me an email, because I didn't manage to get them all down when you were going through them, and then we can look into it. Thank you.
Will. Thank you.
Thank you all for that. Moving on, I call upon Councillor Andrew Lee, Executive Member for Open to Business, including growth, economic development, planning, waste management, trading standards and business relations.
Nothing to add to my report, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have got one person indicating? Bryn Griffiths, Councillor Bryn Griffiths.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one, really. I'm just wondering how Alison Park waste plant is coming on. How's its performance against the targets that's been set?
Councillor Lee.
Yeah, it's performing well through you, Chairman. Yeah, Councillor Griffith, thanks for the question. The plant is performing well. We've had one or two issues in the past which I've reported on, but nothing recently. I think the waste is going in, it's been processed, and best of all, it's generating electricity.
Pleased to hear that. Long may it continue.
Councillor Peacock.
Yes, I'm not sure there's much we can do about what I'm going to mention now, but I think it should be noted that at the moment, because of so much isolation that people are having to do, that we're having a lot of problems in the tourist businesses of having to close because they haven't the staff. And this has been, it's been just recently, it's been getting quite serious, certainly in the Upper Dales. And whether it will improve when we get to August, when I think there's some difference in the rules there. But this is becoming very serious. And also, not just that, it's the fact that in general, staff shortage is becoming quite serious. And also, I'm sorry I'm mentioning all this under one, but it is under economic growth. Also, the problem is things like the HGV drivers are nearly an impossibility for many businesses trying to get drivers. We have quite a problem looming, and it's there, and I don't think it's going to go away that fast. I'm only just raising it that maybe Councillor Lee might consider just looking into some of these things and see if there's anything we can do. I probably think it's government based, but it's just worth mentioning that I think we have a problem now and one that's maybe going to get worse.
Thank you for those comments. I don't think we have anybody else wishing to make a question. So Councillor Lee, if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Well, Councillor Peacock raised a lot of good points there. There are a lot of businesses closing. A lot of people have been pinged going into isolation. I've experienced it personally with my businesses. So I totally sympathise with people in that position. I think it is more government based than local based. She is right. I believe the rules are about to be amended in August, so hopefully we'll have less of that, which should help businesses. But from the council's perspective, we are here to support our local businesses. We've got a lot of small businesses and micro enterprises, and as I said before, my economic development team and trading standards, we're there to provide advice. Much of it is free advice, so I do urge businesses, if they are having any problems whatsoever, to come forward and to avail themselves of the advice that we're able to give them. I hope that gives Councillor Peacock some assurances, but I'll certainly keep my finger on the pulse as far as this is concerned and report back any changes as and when they develop.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Peacock was nodding, so I think we'll move on at this point. I call upon Greg White, Councillor Greg White, Executive Member for Customers Engagement, including the contact centre, website, libraries, digital and performance management relating to complaints and compliments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The long title of my job accounts for the long length of my report. I apologise to members for that. I have nothing to add to it, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Councillor White? No, I think you've escaped, so that's good.
Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Dadd, Executive Member for Finance and Assets and Special Projects, including Finance and HR Performance Management.
Thank you, Chairman. I have one small addition to make to my statement, but it carries some importance, and it's on the back of the leaders addition and response to Councillor Keene's question. The first thing to say is, as members will know, I have pretty strong views about the form of local government going forward. I genuinely do not know what that decision will be today or indeed tomorrow, and I genuinely do not know, but I want to reassure members that as long as I've got the finance portfolio, we will move heaven and earth to make sure that the changes and the transition period up until the election of that new shadow unitary authority occurs, the transition period is supported. That, quite honestly, if I'm being truthful, should the decision go for the east-west option, I will chunter a bit, but absolutely respect that decision and resource accordingly and work tirelessly to make sure that the future is as bright as it possibly can be. What I will not resource, in line with the leader's view, and it's something that we discussed some time ago, is resourcing a judicial review, because it's most definitely the wrong thing to do. We must respect the minister's decision, whatever decision that is. With that aside, happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that update. Any questions to Councillor Dadd? I'm not seeing anything showing, so I'm going to move on. I call on Janet Sanderson, Executive Member for Children's Services and Special Educational Needs, with responsibility for fostering and adoption, children's social care and prevention.
Thank you, Chairman. I have nothing to add, but can I please take the opportunity to highlight the annual report of the Corporate Parenting Group? And this is linked to my statement. And I should also take the opportunity to remind everybody that we're actually all corporate parents on this council. And I'd like to thank the Chairman and her committee for producing such a detailed and comprehensive document. And I would urge you all to take the time to delve into this valuable document. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Councillor Sanderson? I'm not seeing any questions. Anybody's hand up, so I'm going to move on. I call upon Patrick Mulligan, Executive Member for Education and Skills, with responsibility for early years schools, apprenticeships and FE colleges. Councillor Mulligan.
Thank you, Chairman. I have nothing to add to my written report. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Councillor Mulligan? Don't see anybody indicating, so I'm going to move on. Thank you very much for that. I call upon Councillor Don McKenzie, Executive Member for Access, including highways, road and rail transport, broadband and mobile phones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report is on pages 79 and 80. I have nothing to add, but happy to answer questions.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Grant showing a hand.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I have had a response from Area 1, but nonetheless, I just want to make it my comments in this particular environment. I'm very disappointed, really, from a Catterick Garrison area that I represent, about the general standard of weed control. In some areas, weeds in the gutters are anything up to 2.5 feet high, and I'm told that's because the contract to have them eradicated wasn't set correctly, and that's not just, I understand, for my central Richmondshire area, but for other areas, or indeed the entire Richmondshire area. So to express my great concern about that, and that I think the standard is appalling, and I do hope that the promised interventions happen very, very rapidly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Parsons and then Councillor Bryn Griffiths, and then unless I get any other questions, I'll ask Councillor McKenzie to respond. Councillor Parsons.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Grant, for raising this. It's been an ongoing issue this year. For some reason, the County Council decided that once upon a time, killing weeds at the end of May, beginning of June was a very sensible approach. And then this year they decided, well, no, let's wait till the end of July to do anything about it. So unfortunately, North Yorkshire is now faced with the prospect of having to actually go out physically and clear the weeds before they try and treat any of the areas. Already the weed killer that the County Council uses is particularly weak, and so without proper intervention, the situation can only get worse. And it's the same in rural areas as well as the urban areas. It is a total and utter failing. Now, I noticed that Mr. Battersby has said that there's potentially changes to be brought in relating to the dealing of the County Council with weeds, and I welcome that, and I do hope that he will proceed with more than one treatment. But quite frankly, relying on volunteers to have so much pride in their area that they ignore the lack of pride from North Yorkshire County Council's highways is not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Griffiths, I think you were next.
Yes, I'd just like to echo Councillor Parsons and Councillor Grant's comments. I've also got the same issues in the Stokesley area. I believe no spraying took place in May. We're now talking about July. Well, July, what are we now, the 21st? I still see no signs of that. I've had comments from residents in Tamebridge. Their pavements look more like a green corridor for wildlife. I've got photos to substantiate that evidence that. You're probably talking about a combine harvester going around some of our estates to get the weeds out. What we need is a proper weed killing and then the weeds removing. What we're looking at is gullies getting blocked in future, and we'll have flooding, which is entirely avoidable. Why haven't we got this weed spraying done and the weeds cleared? It's far too late now. Needs doing now. It's urgent. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. A bit of a sticky mute. Councillor Mike Jordan, I think you were next.
Thank you, Chairman. I think on this subject of things like that, I think LGR is going to help here because hopefully with devolution and reorganisation, we can allow some of the councils, the parish councils, to take on more responsibilities. And I think that is the way to go. And it will encourage then local areas to have more pride in their particular area rather than relying on the county council to do absolutely everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons, is this a new point, or I don't want to get into debate with Councillor Jordan over it. I want to give Councillor Mackenzie an opportunity to respond. So unless it's a new point, I'm going to...
It is a new point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Areas do have pride in what they do and are very concerned about the state that we're finding our towns and villages in. If the County Council doesn't get its act together very shortly, it's going to find itself with a massive repair bill for all the pavements. Now, Richmond has a lot of block paving and York stone paving. The weeds are growing so well between all of these areas that when the weeds are killed and the remains removed, the County Council will then have to spend the equivalent of a year's maintenance budget resetting the pavements. And it's all their own fault because they haven't done their job correctly. Thank you.
Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to respond to some of the points that have been raised, please?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman. Well, all of the points raised are to do with weeds. And of course, like all the people who raised this issue this morning, I'm fully aware of the fact that our highways and footpaths, especially the close to the curbs, have become quite affected by weed growth. And there are various reasons for this, and North Yorkshire County Council is by no means alone in this. This is a problem that is being experienced throughout the country. Mild winters, reduced use of salt, reduced actual traffic flows and pedestrian flows in winters have and during the period of the COVID-19 epidemic has caused less traffic on the roads and encouraged weed growth. Also, of course, there are environmental concerns. We, like most other councils, do use glyphosate. It is a weakened version of glyphosate, and we use that once a year. And for all these reasons, weed growth has admittedly become worse. The new company, NY Highways, is fully aware of that. We are experimenting other means of getting rid of weeds. For example, in the Harrogate area, we're looking not to use chemicals, but to use hot water treatment or steam treatment to kill weeds. But I don't think at this stage we're looking to use chemicals more than once a year because of the environmental consequences of doing so. Incidentally, I get contacted by residents regularly who say, what are you going to do about the weeds in front of my house in the gutter? And I've often said to them, do what I do, and that is go out yourself, spend about 5 minutes and grub those weeds out if you feel very strongly that the appearance of weeds in front of your property is detrimental to your property. So there's nothing to stop residents doing that. But of course, we do recognise the fact that there are many of our residents who consider weed growth to be unattractive and want us to act. And certainly, as Carl Battersby has said, one of the priorities that NY Highways has is to address this issue and look at other means of attacking weed growth other than chemical use, which for environmental reasons we want to reduce.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. There's a few more people that want to ask you questions that have now indicated, and I'm going to take Councillor Grant first, then Councillor McKay, and Councillor Parsons. This will be your third point, and it will be your last one, if that's okay. So Councillor Grant, McKay, and then Parsons, please. Councillor Grant.
I'm so sorry, I'm waffling on to myself, Chairman, I beg your pardon. What I was saying was that the contract, it would appear, between the previous regime and North Yorkshire Highways didn't appear to happen from the correspondence that I've had, which to me was something of a failing. I also get the drift of if there's weeds outside your property in the pavement between you and the property, that's one issue. But the other side of it is these are very fast roads, and the weeds are actually in the gutters off the main highway where it joins onto the pavement, and these are the ones that are 2.5 feet tall, and I would hardly be expecting residents to be going into a major road and digging those up. So I take a kind of exception to that smoke and mirrors, for want of a better expression. There's a big health and safety issue if people were going into the roads to do that. So, you know, I think we just put our hands up and say that there's been a mistake here.
Councillor McKay.
Quite simply, Chairman, disappointed with putting off road repairs in Tadcaster, 2 patches, Westfield Crescent and Oxton Drive. This has been put off again. We're now proposing patching up again. Oxton Drive, there's more patches than Railroad. Stop wasting your money on patching up, Chairman. Please get it fixed. They're getting damaged tyres, which we know how much tyres are, and we're proposing filling them in again. Give up, stop wasting your money, do the job properly. We know there's problems, but we're allegedly short of money. But you said that last year and the year before. We're now 3 years into getting around to fixing some of these. Please look at this and try and get them fixed, Mr. Chairman. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for your help.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Griffiths and then Councillor Heseltine, and then I am going to go back to Councillor Mackenzie and wind up this, because I think we've had a good debate over this. Councillor Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Chair. The issue about weeds is not about the looks of in front of people's houses. It's about the maintenance of the road in a safe condition. You're just going to end up with potential bigger maintenance issues in the future. And it's not just about looks. And I echo Councillor Grant's comments about people going out into the public highway to remove weeds. It's a health and safety issue. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Councillor Heseltine, do you want to come in?
Briefly, Chairman, the traditional back streets from the tourist houses in Skipton, it's just like a jungle. I've had more complaints over this issue in total than I've had over everything else in 40-some years in public life. Obviously, if there's a contract in place, it's failed. And if there's no contract in place, well, it's an absolute disgrace. please, Don, just get it sorted out, and let's have our attractive towns and villages back as they should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons, I did say you could have another bite of this, but please keep it to 30 seconds for supplementary questions. And then I am going to Don Mackenzie for a reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that all these pilots are taking place in the Harrogate area. It's perhaps time to roll them out in the rest of North Yorkshire so some of us can see the effects of it other than just the Harrogate area. I understand that Councillor Mackenzie represents a seat there, but every single time something new is announced for highways, it's in Harrogate that it's trialled, and that's no longer acceptable. Thank you.
Councillor Mackenzie, I am coming to you now. I know there's another hand indicated, but can we take that up with Councillor Mackenzie in person, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, just a brief response to Councillor Grant. I'm not suggesting in any way that residents take their life into their hands and go out onto busy streets and remove weeds. I'm talking about residential areas where many of these complaints come from and where roads are not busy. And it was a suggestion only. It's by no means that I'm asking our residents to do that work for us. As far as an alleged failure to hand over the contract is concerned, I'm not aware of that. Many contracts were transferred from the previous contractor to NY Highways, and I'm not aware of any break or failure to hand over of a contract to NY Highways for something as important as weed control. Councillor Parsons, everything's been trialled in Harrogate. By no means. This is just simply one example of that I'm aware of as a resident of Harrogate, that we are looking at non-chemical based solutions to getting rid of weeds. And Councillor Heseltine, if there is a particular Ginnell alleyway that is suffering weed growth, I mean, that is something to take up with the area office, and I'm sure that can be addressed. But Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to reassure all of the people who've raised this issue this morning regarding weeds and also grass cutting, but that's another issue that is raised regularly, that I and the BES team are fully aware of these issues, but we are working within the constraints of environmental concerns that our residents do have. And we also recognise that there's a considerable group of residents who also like to see grass growing longer in order to encourage flora and fauna. But nevertheless, I do take these points very seriously. We take these points seriously, and we shall address those concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie, and I know firsthand that Area 6 are taking the concerns that I've raised personally with them about the same issue. So I would encourage all members to get in touch with the relevant area offices if you haven't already done so. So thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. And moving on to scrutiny board and overview and scrutiny. Will the chairman of the scrutiny board and the overview and scrutiny committees indicate if they wish to speak on their statements or add information? I will call for questions after all chairmen who wish to speak have first spoken. Are there any chairmen wishing to speak on their reports? I don't see anybody indicating. Is anybody wishing to ask questions of any of the, are there any questions to the Scrutiny Board Chairman, Councillor Derek Basterman? Mike Jordan, Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. Obviously, you will have read that there's the potential closure of a GP surgery at Hemmingbrough, which is part of my ward. This is all, I suspect, because that a lot of places, a lot of businesses, because they are private businesses, are wishing to centralised wherever possible. And if any other members of the council have had similar things happen in the past, it would be nice if they could email me, because I suspect this is something that's going to happen. Everyone wants to centralise things around in Selby district around Selby itself. We had the threatened closure in another part of my ward at Carlton, but they decided to stay because Carlton suddenly got a large influx of housing, which sort of offset that effectively. So if any other member has anything, just to let me know by email. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any?
Chairman, if I may, as Chair of Scrutiny Board, I can confirm that Councillor John Ennis, pardon the pun, has got his finger on the pulse regarding GP surgeries, and more than happy to work in with Councillor Jordan and any other member that has concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Basterman. Are there any other questions to any of the scrutiny chairs? I'm not seeing anything, so if there are no further ones, no questions, a few more seconds and then we're going to move on.
Thank you, Chair. There doesn't seem to be any more questions. We can go on to agenda item 12, notices of motion.
Thank you very much. And there are no notices of motion.
And then we can smoothly go on finally to item 13, Council Procedure Rule 10 questions.
Are there any questions for the chairman of any of the council's committees? Can't see anybody indicating. I'll give it a few more seconds. No, I've not seen anything. So that is the end of the agenda for this live broadcast meeting of the County Council. Thank you all for your patience during this meeting. The meeting is closed and the live broadcast will now stop. So if members can just wait until that's terminated, it would be appreciated.